I hope Councilman Waring remembered.
And we are now live streaming. We're on
Okay.
YouTube now.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, he's getting on right now. The
All
mayor.
right, thank you.
Says we have 23 participants.
We have a lot.
That's what it says.
Yeah. Yep, it's 23.
Okay.
10, 15, 20. Yep,
We
21,
have
20.
several members. Some of the development teams have more than one person participating with us today.
Okay.
I see all 23 is showing up online, all 23. 5, 10, 15, 20, 23. It's exactly right, 23.
I'm learning how to use this. I just learned how to turn the volume up yesterday.
But you're on the tablet?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't gotten back to the tablet yet. I'm still I'm on my laptop.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, the Go tablet is just so much simpler.
Yeah, okay. I have
I'm really disappointed you're not in your garden.
I have Sacrament show me how to do this. I don't.
For some reason, yesterday when I was out there were a few mosquitoes out there that just sort of said, "Don't do it." Apparently, Mosquito Squad missed a few of them. So
There he is. The mayor's connecting now. Oh, he was. Something happened. I saw him was connecting.
Oh, he's here. The mayor's here.
Oh, he's there? Okay.
Hey, y'all.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Well, we can get started.
All right.
Time now is 3:05. I'd like to call the Community Development Committee meeting to order. As customary, we will have an invocation of moments of silence. It says, Councilmember Sacrum, you want to do us a short invitation, please?
Sure. I hope we all come today with open minds and open hearts for today's meeting of community development. We've got a few items that we wanted to talk about. It's always a privilege and honor to work in this group and work on the items that are important to our city. And with that, in your name, amen.
amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. I don't think we have anyone in the public participation except some of the developers, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. No one signed up to speak on Innovate and no comments were left.
All right, thank you. So we move right along. We go down to item number B, which is approval of the minutes for July 20th and August 17th, 2023.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, it was moving second. All vote by favor by saying aye.
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 Nay, ayes have it. We are going down to old businesses. The first,
Mr. Chairman,
yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor?
could I respectfully make the request that we modify the agenda and take the new business items first? We have some guests who were here for those various topics. Sometimes when we get on the topic of Sumar Street, we take a little while, and I just thought we might go ahead and move through.
Just a
these
little bit.
items
Just a
first.
little.
I hope that won't happen today. Don't get me
I
wrong,
hope
but just in
not.
case.
I hope not, Mayor.
I hope
Please.
not too. Okay, that's fine. We have the motion coming from the mayor that we kind of move the items up, new business item ups, and
Just take, I move we take new business items first and then we go to old business.
Second.
okay, moving second, that we take new business first and old business second. All vote by favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So that would be do it. So we'll start up with D1. D1 is under new business, the status of affordable housing development at 573 Meeting Street, the Michaels Company and the Stacy. Okay, who's going to present that?
I think I will lead us off, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Mayor and other members of council. Thank you for allowing us to provide you all with an update. Some of you are familiar with this project. Some of you might be a little bit newer to it. So we'll start off with just a quick overview. And I'm not sure, are we sharing the slides, Gianna, or are people looking on their own?
They don't have it. Jennifer, can we get sharing opportunities so Stacy and her team can share their information via PowerPoint, please?
So there is a share screen option at the bottom. If you click on that and you just share the screen that you want to share with the committee.
Will do. Sorry, I wasn't sure who had permission to drive here. So while we're pulling that up, with us or with me today is Bruce Morgan, who is a Senior Vice President with the Michaels organization and the Michaels Development Company, who is a key partner in this effort with us. And I'm trying to talk and click at the same time so we can get the presentation up. And I believe if he's not on here, Ronald Scott, who is bond counsel with Hainsworth, Sinclair Boyd, will also be joining.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to pull our slides up here. Apologize for not having that ready quicker. So, all right. I am hoping you're seeing the right screen there. Is that the 573 Meeting Street project slide on your end?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. You'd think we would be used to this after 3 years of zooming everything. So just by quick refresher, the 573 Meeting Street project will be located at the former location of the Crisis Ministry Shelter that many of you remember and have been supportive of over the years. Literally right outside my window here. If I gesture to the back, that's why. So this project has been in a long time making, and it serves really a very specific purpose around providing affordable housing for individuals moving out of homelessness. So those at extremely low income levels. And the development team that has been working on this project, some of whom you'll hear from today, along with 180 Place as the nonprofit partner, the Michaels organization, who is a national widely respected, widely known affordable housing developer and also affordable housing operator. And you'll hear from Bruce Morgan. They bring the affordable housing development expertise. And then after the project is built and leased up, they will be our property management partner for the LIHTC management requirement of the units. LS3P has been our architect partner from the beginning when we needed to demolish the old facility, and has really been a huge partner for many years now of the organization, as well as many projects in this community that are very well known. And Spandrel Development Partners are our for-profit development partner who bring a level of expertise in the successful development of multifamily housing in many environments, but particularly right here in Charleston and right here on Upper Meeting Street. So that kind of is our development team who have really been working together to move this project forward. Quick reminder of this project or overview or introduction. There will be 70 units of affordable housing, primarily studios, some 1 bedrooms and some 2 bedrooms. And again, the target population for these units are individuals moving out of homelessness. So in all likelihood, this will be individuals who are on some sort of entitlement income, limited income, veterans benefits, disability benefits. So really, the partnership with the City of Charleston Housing Authority to provide project-based vouchers is key to make sure that this project can operate and that we have the rental revenue coming in to make the project viable long-term. The City of Charleston Housing Authority came on very early in the project and really has been a great partner as well in believing in the value, seeing the value of creating housing specifically for individuals moving out of homelessness or with a recent history of homelessness here in our community.
And you needed the project base to help with the financing, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Particularly the renters that we're targeting, that voucher being able to provide the full rental and utility coverage is critical for this target market.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Just a quick reminder, Upper Meeting Street here, this is a 6-story building starting to blend in or will blend in more with the fabric as the fabric of Meeting Street is really changing. Mixed use development. So the first floor is your residential supports, a small gym, leasing office, a business center, some gathering spaces. as well as offices for all of the staff who will provide the supportive services for the individuals in those units. As part of that LIHTC project and the project-based vouchers, being able to have those supportive services on site. And also right here next to the main 180 Place facility for other services such as mental health care, primary health care, legal services, anything else a resident may need. A small cafe on the first floor. Not going to try to compete with Starbucks right down the street, but this will be an outlet for our social enterprise. Many of you may be aware that 180 Place operates a culinary training program. This will be a retail outlet for the participants in that training program to provide a different level of experience and have a way to introduce their products and that program into our community here. And then moving into, you can see a little bit a different view there of 180 Eats. Not sure if that's going to be the name, but that's the placeholder for now. And then the view of sort of the rear of the building from I-26, that red roof there is the existing 180 Place facility. So really creating a campus, kind of having this sort of pocket park and green space in between the buildings, we think is essential. While this is not meant to be an extension of the shelter, for those individuals who still wish to maybe obtain meals in our community kitchen or have access to other services here, that easy access, very walkable. The parking lot you don't see in this rendering, but there will be a large parking lot to the rear of the property along the C Street end of the road, kind of behind these buildings. So that's just sort of a super quick overview of the project. A little bit of narrative, really, we use this as part of some of our marketing materials as we have raised money and sought funding for the project, that really focusing on those low-income renters who are even in the traditional affordable housing market are often priced out. And so those 70 apartments will be filling a very unique need. And then also kind of unique in this project that the second floor of this project will actually be a brand new family shelter with 60 units in sort of apartment suite styles or more hotel suite style units designed for women or families who are on the road to housing, but still need some access to more of a shelter. No congregate living. We learned a lot of lessons during COVID and really infused even some of those lessons into here. So the shelter floor will really feel, again, more like apartments, just minus a kitchen. So that's kind of the overview of the actual project. Again, those vouchers are important because the individuals here will pay no more than 30% of their limited income on rent and utilities. So, and Bruce is going to take over to kind of go over sources and uses. As an old colleague of mine used to say, it's not the money, it's the money. But if there are any questions more on the details of the project, I'm also happy to answer those after we run through the funding part, which the city of Charleston is certainly a key partner in. So with that, I will kick it over to Bruce to talk about our sources of funding.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting us to appear before you this afternoon. My name is Bruce Morgan. I'm a senior vice president with the Michaels organization, and I oversee multifamily activities in the southeastern portion of the United States. My office is in Sarasota, Florida. So this is a little over a $36 million project. Unfortunately, we've been delayed for a couple years. Initially, when we were going to close in 2019, we were delayed because of COVID and the delays that really impacted everybody, that we then became caught up in the inflation that was the byproduct of COVID, which required us to raise some more money. And most pressing was our need to raise more volume cap, which is bond funding, which is a requirement of the 4% tax credit program. We have those funds in hand now, and we anticipate a construction loan closing and a groundbreaking by the end of the first quarter of next year. Right now, our sources of funds include $17 million of tax credit equity. Stacy and 180 Place were very successful in pulling together a number of different sources of funds, which total $7,650,000. The Climb Foundation graciously gave us $3 million. The city of Charleston, once again, graciously gave us an additional $3 million. The South Carolina Department of Mental Health provided $425,000. Charleston County, through ARPA funds, provided $2 million. And recently, we've been the beneficiary of this inflation in kind of a reversal, where the Section 8 certificates had a rather large jump, which allowed us to add almost $3.2 million in first mortgage proceeds from Freddie Mac. Stacy, if you switch to the next slide. Our land costs are $1,800,000. Construction costs went up to $23,500,000. Our soft costs, the architects, the interest, the engineering expenses, total $10,500,000. Our reserves are at $485,000 for a total project cost of $36,342,180. As I said when I first started, the state of South Carolina just notified us in the last 2 weeks that our request for additional volume cap, which goes along with the 4% tax credits, has been approved. This is effectively a loan, which we will be paying back. It's always been our intent to get this. It's just unfortunately gone up. We now have it, and we're going through the process now to close by the end of the first quarter of next year.
First, this is Ron Scott. If I could also add comment-wise, we anticipate some additional meetings between the State Housing Authority and the State Fiscal Accountability Authority that will finalize that final allocation request for the additional par bond amount and the state ceiling amount that will be necessary for closing. But we've received, as Bruce has mentioned, the team full assurances of headed toward completion for that. So we're excited to finally see some movement.
Ron, I think I was supposed to turn it over to you now to talk about next steps.
And I'm sorry if I jumped ahead too soon.
No, you were right on. You were right on.
Right on time.
What those next steps are, and more specifically, the exact next steps will include an amended and restated inducement resolution by the State Housing Authorities Board, their bond committee. We've been in discussions with them and have provided a draft, and it is our hope that they would take that up at the October meeting. Thereafter, we are still in discussions at the state level with the State Fiscal Accountability Authority about the date at which it would give its final issuance approval for the increased bond amount and increased state ceiling for this project. But we hope to know that within the next few weeks. But we are certainly in a much better place with a lot greater clarity to move this project forward than we have been in past times. And I think, as has been indicated, a first quarter closing certainly is within sight and the goal at this point. We're very appreciative and thankful for the city's support. I might say, before practicing law, I used to be a community development director and used to oversee housing programs along with zoning programs for a number of years for a large local county. And one of the best colleagues I knew in the state of South Carolina was Gianna Shaw Johnson. It's always good to see her, and you all are very fortunate to have her on the team there.
Thank you, Ron. Can you say that one more time? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
And Juan, we already know.
You already know. We got you.
You got the best. We know. Thank you, though.
You're very blessed and fortunate. I say that as someone she now does back in the day. So very appreciative.
All right. That's it?
That's what we have. If there are no more questions.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Mayor, you have a question?
Yeah, if you don't mind, please, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So y'all know, y'all have been anxiously awaiting to get this thing going for a few years now. Needless to say, we have been too. We've been wanting you to be successful in moving forward. I guess maybe this is just a sign of impatience, but I mean, if we have the funding resolved now, I think y'all have all your city approvals and permits. Can't we break ground sooner than the end of the first quarter? What's wrong with next month or
Well,
before the end of the year?
I'll jump in and take that one, Mr. Mayor. The plan for approving the projects and the sort of big picture, this project certainly would have been well underway probably before now. But as we all know, the state paused all issuance of private activity housing bonds with the review of legislation to change the low-income housing tax credit at the state level. And along with that came a number of regulatory changes. And this may come as a big surprise to everyone involved, so please, I hope everyone's seated, but there came about this little thing called inflation in the process. I think we've heard that term ad nauseum. And certainly, private activity housing bonds have to meet what's called the 50% test, meaning at least 50% of the, at least 50, more than 50% of the qualified costs for the project have to be funded through bond issuance. And so we were at a point where the amount that had been approved wasn't going to match out with meeting that 50% test, which necessitated an additional par bond amount of about $3 million and also an additional amount of the state's ceiling. The state ceiling is the total amount of private activity bonds that can be issued in a year. So during this period of time when the state has been negotiating and making regulatory changes, it didn't give any approval. So after reviewing the additional costs that accrued to this project and reviewing the plan of action for the project, our cost increases were validated by a private consultant the state hired, and the State Housing Authority, along with the Joint Bond Review Committee, put together a plan that was approved that provides for that additional $3 million in bonds. But the procedural steps according to state law require that the issuer of the bonds, which is state housing, will have to approve a final resolution along with the State Fiscal Accountability Authority, which is the governor, the chairman of Ways and Means for the House, the Senate Finance Chair, the Treasurer, the Comptroller General. That committee of 5 has to approve the final issuance, and we have yet to receive the date when they will take this up on the agenda. I've been in contact with State Housing's General Counsel and the General Counsel today for the what's called the SFAA on this matter. Those two steps, State Housing's bond approval and the SFAA's final issuance approval, are the steps that must take place prior to closing. There's some other components such as HUD subsidy delayed review that are a big part of it, but from a state level perspective, in terms of getting us to closing, those are the two big points that procedurally still remain. We have every expectation they will take place. It's just scheduling that, which we're entirely at the mercy of the state to do. So, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question about why we couldn't close just yet, that's the why there. We've got to get those two sort of ministerial actions to take place at those two state levels. But we have every expectation at this point that we'll proceed. And trust me, we are pushing daily with calls, emails, everything we possibly can to get this across the finish line.
And Mr. Mayor, too, because the city has been such a huge partner and this project has been permitted and met all of our approvals on probably a record timeline, just a huge push in that direction. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, I'm sure. We have done everything at the site that we can do without jeopardizing any of those other steps that Ron just pointed out. So there are certain things we can't do on the literal 573 site, but back in June, we demolished the building that needed to come down to create the space for the parking. The site is prepped. We're in constant communication with stormwater permitting to make sure all the pre-construction fencing and everything. So everything we could possibly do to get the site ready without creating some other challenge that Ron then has to go unravel, we're doing. So we share your anxiousness and excitement about it. And trust me, the earth moving equipment will be out here. And as soon as we get go, we'll be ready to go. But we're trying to do as much ahead of time as we can as we wait on these final approvals. So
Thank
yes.
you. Ron, if anything is appropriate for us to call somebody or to help in any way, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I don't know if we can be of any help, but we'd certainly be glad to. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, and I guess just for the record, and give the city of Charleston a little credit where I think it's due. And all thankfulness to the Climb Fund, there are partners 100% on many different projects and matters. I do believe the $3 million that came from them was part of the settlement money that the city basically helped direct as to where the Climb Fund ought to make those investments. So in a way, that $6 million contribution really is from all of us, from our citizens, from the city of Charleston. So and that shows our level of commitment, Stacy, to what you're doing. So thank you for getting. I know it's been a long road. We're all anxious and excited to get it started, but
we still believe this is a true model for a public-private partnership,
Yeah.
A complicated one for sure, but absolutely the city has been in lockstep with us for years now, and we really appreciate it and cannot overstate how critical that support is. And I'm sure if there's an opportunity for members of council or for you, Mr. Mayor, to weigh in, we'll follow Ron's lead on that. But this has been a long time coming. I don't know. I think we might have been living there if COVID had not come, but a lot of things would have been different. But absolutely appreciate your partnership. And, there's lots of faces on this screen that have been with us from the beginning. And we do appreciate that.
thank y'all. Let's get it over the finish line.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I pass it every day and look at it and I say, when is they gonna open? Every day. Okay, any other questions?
No, except good seeing you again, Stacy.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to thank them for having the tenacity to hang in there and carry this thing to the finish line, because it definitely took a lot of endurance, Stacy and team.
I was a brunette when this started. So.
I remember.
That's all right. It's moving. It's take a little time, but it's moving. It will get there. Okay, if you have any other questions, thank you all very much.
Well, one thing
we're moving on.
Well, no,
All right, Councilman Waring.
no, I think it's one thing we need to note though. One of the portions of the money that the city got to do this, Mr. Mayor and council member, and this may be new to Councilmember Pell, was some of the money from the settlement from Charleston Place.
Yeah.
And again, thank God we had those dollars and you all can apply them so appropriately. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was a rough road in the beginning, because I was there from the beginning of it, getting the money and helping, but it was a rough road, but we got there. So we just got to keep it moving.
That's what I was referring to. Thank you, Waring.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you all very much for that presentation.
Thank you all for your time.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. Status of affordable housing developments, the low-line affordable housing. Who's going to be presenting that?
Robinson Villa from NHE. There he goes.
All righty.
Afternoon. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Can y'all see this okay?
Yep.
All right, great. Well, I appreciate y'all letting me come and talk to y'all about Lowline. Kind of a little bit like 573 Meeting Street. It's been a long road, and I think we're hopefully getting close to the kind of light at the end of the tunnel, and excited about where Lowline's headed. So just a little bit of background of NHE, which I think most of you are familiar with, we are an affordable housing developer based out of Greenville, South Carolina. We develop in South Carolina, North Carolina. Majority of our projects are developed with the low-income housing tax credit program, but we also do some other projects with some other affordable housing programs, but we do strictly affordable housing. We completed about 14 projects over the last 10 years and have 2 more under construction right now as we speak. The one specifically we want to talk to you today about is low-line housing off of King Street. So that project is a 55-unit project right off of King Street, 678 King Street. It's behind the Housing Authority project, 676 King Street. A mixture of studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. Our current status, so we have BAR preliminary design approval that took a little bit to get, but we got through there and are excited about doing that. We did that late last year. We also have completed the drawings and kind of have those ready for submission. The thing we need to do is fix our shortfall. So we're currently experiencing about $1 million in funding shortfall. That is being worked through right now as we speak. We're looking at some alternative means and methods for construction to help save some construction costs and also help us on our insurance costs. And we're also appealing our decision that the recent JVRC decision that was given to us for additional state tax credits and additional housing trust funds. We're going to appeal that decision just to see if there's any other money that they could provide to us to help hopefully fill this shortfall. But you know, I think we're working actively on it. One thing we did just recently get done was we had the Charleston Housing Authority provide 13 project-based vouchers to the project, which are going to help a little bit of a shot in the arm because we have a large contingent of 30% units here. So it was kind of a meeting of minds with the Charleston Housing Authority that those units could be best served by some project-based vouchers that they have. And they're going to be our neighbors. So it made sense to become a partner with them on this project. I'm just going to kind of cycle through a couple of renderings of our project. I think you'll see when we worked with the BAR, we went through a couple iterations with them on the design of the project. This is looking from the future low country low line. So this would be from the linear park looking back towards King Street. Our project is going to be 4 and 5 stories, and I think it's a handsome looking project as some of the BAR members we're using that term a lot. The site plan, I think just one thing I just wanted to kind of orient everybody. We're behind 676 King Street, the Charleston Housing Authority project. The gray area that you see there to the right, that's going to be parking for both our project, the Housing Authority project, and also for the linear park. It's currently just a gravel lot right across the street from the Recovery Room bar and restaurant, if you all are familiar with that. So that's a betterment I think that we're excited about is providing some parking for the city, but also parking for us and improving that area and just providing a public amenity that will be used by people using the park. Quickly, here's some sources and uses as we sit today. So right now we're currently budgeting this for a $34 million project. The vast majority of the sources that are coming from federal and state LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits. We've also received $2.3 million from the city, which we're appreciative of, and we have some money coming from the Department of Mental Health. That gap financing highlighted in yellow, that's what the number that we're attacking right now, and we're working on trying to get some construction savings through alternative means and methods, and we're also just trying to work through getting some additional funds from the state, seeing if there's some available. So quickly, that's a spin through. Here's kind of our next steps, our plan of attack for the remainder of this year. So we're appealing the funding decisions. We literally did that today. We sent in our appeal. We're vetting out our alternative means and methods. So what it is right now, as the project's currently designed, it's going to be built as a wood frame construction, but with the different fire restrictions and different fire standards we need to have on that building, it might make sense for us to go to possibly a precast concrete product, which would help us on our insurance rates. So we're working through that, seeing the savings that are going to come from that, and also from insurance wise. There may be a potential resubmittal to the BAR just to show them the new material. The design will not change at all, really. It's just going to be the same design, just a different material. And then we're working through the rest of this year, solving our funding gap and getting to a closing, hopefully by the end of Q1 2024 if we're lucky. So we're continuing to work through this project and excited about it. It's been a long winding road, as it's been for 573 meeting. There was the pause on projects, and then looks like the thawing that's happening currently. So we're excited that SC Housing seems to be opening up. Again, additionally, we need to go in for some additional bond cap allocation, just like 573 Meeting Street, because the original bond amount that we asked for has been far outstripped by the 50% test. So we'll continue to work through this, and I'm happy to take any questions y'all may have or talk through any of the details of things that I've just discussed.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions first? But when the expectation that they might start construction?
I think we could, if everything goes according to plan with the next steps we have here, hopefully we could start construction in spring of next year.
Any other questions? I can't see everyone, so no questions?
Robinson, take your presentation down, please.
I can't see it. Yeah. Okay.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Okay. Now, no one else have any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Councilmember Appel just raised his hand.
Oh, okay. Councilman Appel.
I don't have so much of a question as just a statement. I just wanted to thank Robinson and his whole team for their first class efforts on this project. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to the city. Affordable housing on the low line. What could be better? But I wanted to know, Robinson, if you could maybe highlight maybe some of the biggest challenges you guys have experienced at the city level going through this process, so we can get a better understanding of where maybe we ought to look at to make some improvements. Because if you guys were having some challenges with it, it means any affordable housing developer in the United States of America would have challenges, because you guys are some of the best in the business. And so part of what we do at the CD committee is not just oversee these great projects that we've been talking about today, these partnerships, but we want to make it easier for anybody to come forward and develop housing in an affordable manner. So you're in a safe space. We promise nothing you say can or will be used against you. We're very critical, self-critical at this committee, and we do that to improve the process here at the city, because we all share the same goal of trying to bring more affordable housing to the market. So if you could maybe highlight a couple things for us, I think that might be helpful.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you kind of one thing that's been difficult to navigate with also some praise. So I think starting off, I think y'all are probably up there. You in Greenville, I would say neck and neck on probably the most committed municipality. We work all throughout South Carolina, North Carolina. One of the most committed municipalities to affordable housing, and kind of putting your money where your mouth is a little bit. So I appreciate that. And, I think it's definitely helped. If you weren't so committed to this project, it would have not been where it is. It would have probably died a long time ago. And I would say, the thing that has been difficult to navigate, and we understood it going in, but was just Board of Architectural Review. I think we understood where they're coming from, trying to make the best project possible, but they definitely added some costs to a project that probably didn't need $1 to be added. And it was going to be expensive, period. And I think that we added some costs that is just, I wouldn't say unnecessary, because it looks great, but it's definitely added to a project that we're trying to keep affordable and trying to keep on the rails. And it just added some costs through some iterations, which that was difficult to navigate through, but I think we got through and we have what we have now. And that's the kind of puzzle we're solving right now, is just trying to make it work with the construction budget we have right now. The numbers have been kind of eye-popping across the board in South Carolina, North Carolina, and really everywhere over the last couple of years. But certainly this project has really been a high watermark of construction prices, just based on some of the decisions that we needed to make in terms of design to get through the BAR. So that's probably the biggest thing, the toughest thing. But other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing, I would say. Gianna, Gianna probably, I don't know if it worked out this way or not, but she's getting a lot of people to praise her today. But I mean, she's been doing a great job keeping us kind of informed on where y'all are with stuff, and we have a great dialogue. She's very easy to work with, which sometimes does not happen in different municipalities. So appreciative of the work y'all are doing to help us help y'all. So we're excited about it.
All right. Any other question? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Gregory?
Yeah, on the finance side, do you think that the BAR recommendations cause you to have the $1 million shortfall?
I don't know if it's a total of $1 million that they added, but I can certainly say with probably pretty good confidence they probably added $250,000 to $500,000. We had to add a mural on the project, which I really like. It's our eye-catching detail on the project. We had to add a mural to kind of appease some comments, and that cost $100,000 right there that we probably wouldn't have had. We would have just had some painting on there. So it's not the total of the $1 million, but it is part of it. And it also, to be fair, just the fire district we're in a historic district, so we have to do some different construction methods for the fire district, which just added costs to the project period. But we're navigating through it. I'm cautiously optimistic on this new method that we're going to look at for construction that could help the project twofold. It could hopefully not add cost to it, but it would also help us on our insurance rates.
Thank you.
Councilman Waring?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Appel and Gregory, for those questions. Let me ask, can you go through, if you have anything quick, bringing the infrastructure back in there, like the water and the sewer? Do you have any handle on what that cost is? I mean, we do have a sister brother relationship with Charleston Water Systems. I'm just wondering whether any accommodations were accorded to the cost of this project.
Yes, so I mean, we're getting the TIF district, or the infrastructure funds that we're getting are $1.4 million. Let me see if I can't share my screen here. But in terms of can y'all? You can't see that. Can y'all see this yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So infrastructure, we're going to bring all the utilities down this. So they kind of stop right here. If you can see my my cursor, they kind of stop right around H Street. We're going to bring them all the way to our project. And then we're going to add some infrastructure in around the park area. We're working with Remark Studio, landscape architects, and they've been really great to work with about incorporating kind of what the plan is for the Low Country Low Line into our project. So I wouldn't say it's going to be seamless, but I think we're using the same design language. So I think the infrastructure that we're installing hopefully will go part and parcel with what's going on with the city, or what the city has plans. And then we're working also with the SCDOT on installing some infrastructure under their overpass. So I don't have a cost number per se at my fingertips, but I certainly could probably run that down for you if you need to.
Yeah, especially the extension of the water and sewer. That's what that actual cost.
Yeah, I can. That's to do some homework for me. I can get that for you.
That'll work. That's something you can push back out by email.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? I don't see any hands. I don't want to miss anyone. All right. Thank you very much. I'm looking
Thanks, Robinson.
I'm looking, Councilman Pell?
Oh, I was just telling Robinson, thank you. We'll see him next time. Please do another project with us.
Yeah.
Or two.
Now looking forward to it because it's right up the street from me where I live, the low line. I was looking for that, looking at it every day. And so we can try to get that underway because we need these housing very bad. It's on King Street. So that'll be a wonderful project right there with the low line right in that particular area. So I'm looking forward to seeing it before I leave. All right, we are moving right along. So we'll go down to items number, where are we at now? Number 3, the status of Grove at Johns Island, formerly called the Fenwick site, and request for amendment to the development strategy, resource housing group. Sam Coates.
Yep. Thanks, Mayor and Council and Gianna for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all today, give you an update on the project, the Grove on Johns Island. This site was is city-owned land. We were successful in obtaining the opportunity to develop this parcel through RFP from the city a year or so ago. We were able to apply for tax credits in the 2022 9% cycle, and we're successful. So we've obtained funding for the rental component of this project. The site is here, as you can see on the map, on Johns Island, just at the north of the intersection of Maybank Highway and River Road. The development team on this project is Resource Housing Group ourselves. We are an affordable housing developer who has been in business since 1997, developed over 50 communities in the Southeast. We are currently submitting and developing communities in 7 states across the United States, mainly in the Southeast. South Carolina has been a state that we've worked in extensively in our past history. The 2 owners on the property will be Resource Housing Group and EDU Housing. EDU Housing is also a nonprofit organization based in Atlanta. They are more of a supportive services group. They are going to supply supportive services to this project, and they focus particularly on education services. So they will supply services to the students of the community, tutoring services, as well as other supportive services that are within their scope. The engineer on the project is Kimley Horn. They've got a local office here in Charleston. We are using that office on engineering. The architect is Steel Group Architects out of Winston-Salem. They've done numerous projects in South Carolina. They've worked on projects in Charleston, as well as North Carolina as well. And the general contractor currently selected is Creative Builders. They are a Greenville, South Carolina firm. They do lots of work in South Carolina. And I know that lots of developers that have come to Charleston and developed affordable projects in Charleston have also used them. The landowner and also partner is all of you at the city of Charleston, contributing the land and also infrastructure dollars to the project to make this project come to life. We're very appreciative of that. As I said, this project was funded by 9% tax credits. There are 90 rental units slated to be built here. The unit mix and rental rates are in this graph, as you can see in front of you. What it comes down to is 12 1-bedroom units, 39 2-bedroom units, and 39 3-bedroom units, ranging from $236 for 20% 1-bedrooms to $1,200, $1,250 for a 3-bedroom 60% unit. The development timeline, we're currently in the permitting section of our project. We have gone through preliminary TRC. We are in for a tree request or a variance to cut down some of the trees that our buildings really primarily will sit on. We are going to go over that. We are really trying to save as many trees as possible. We want to maintain the grove feel of this project. That is our goal. And once we get our BZA permit, we will submit for first review to DRB. So we anticipate getting through permitting by July of 2024. We really hope to be sooner. The city has been extremely helpful on having many meetings in between permitting submissions, helping us work through the issues that are going to come up in meetings moving forward, and really helping expedite that process. We anticipate construction taking 13 to 15 months. I've got 13 months here, finishing at September of 2025. I guess that's 14 months, and then the lease up will take a couple months. I've got a longer lease up expectation in the timeline than I believe it will take. There's a extreme demand, as we all know on this call, for affordable housing in this section of Charleston, and I believe this project will lease up quickly. We will be live before the end of 2025 with a leased community. Here is the site plan currently that we're working through with TRC. We have 3 residential buildings. Building A and Building B are the same building, just a replica of each other. And Building C is a separate unit type. As you can see, we've got parking and infrastructure, that kind of wraps around the buildings to service all of the buildings equally, and parking allocated to each building to supply the needs that we have there. The circles that you see on site are all of the grand trees that we are really pushing to save. The colors represent the grade of the tree, the health of the tree. The green and the blue are A and B. The yellow are C, and the unfortunate orange and red are trees that are damaged or in not good condition. This next plan here with the red X's on the trees are the trees that we have requested from BZA to remove. Again, the buildings are taking up a good percentage of these trees. The remainder of the trees we're requesting to remove are due to stormwater. As all of y'all I'm sure are aware, and I'm learning more and more, is that the stormwater requirements in Charleston are extensive, and the sheer just land volume that it takes to handle the stormwater of a project of this nature are great. You can see the ponds here throughout the site. There's a good amount of water here above ground that we're needing to incorporate into the project. Here's the architecturals package as we currently have. Again, this has not gone through the permitting process. It will start the permitting process as soon as we get through BZA. Here you can see these building layouts showing a little bit more detail on the bedroom makeup of these buildings. You can see the 2 identical unit type buildings here, the clubhouse, as well as the larger building towards the south of the site. Here I will not spend too much time on, as I know it's hard to see for all of you, but these are the unit layouts, so kind of a little bit more zoomed in view of what these buildings currently are made up of. That's first, second, and third floor. Here are the concept elevations of the property as it sits today. Again, horizontal elevation, from the back of the building as well as the fronts. And here is a color rendering of the project. And I have a note from the architect when he sent this over to me. I'd like to share with y'all. The design is referencing the name of the project. The roof line is using varied pitches to mimic the canopy of grove trees. There are vertical trim boards that separate alternating 6 and 8 inch lap siding to create some texture on the facade. This picks up on the texture you see on the back of leaves. We are proposing screening the breezeway's openings with horizontal composite slats. At night, you would have a glow of the lights in the breezeways through these slats like a lantern. So really trying to incorporate the feel of Johns Island and the neighboring properties and the aesthetic of this area into this project to create a project that's not only fitting to the community but very, very appealing. again, here are another look at the specific floor plans. We've gone through lots of rounds with the architect on these floor plans to create the most efficient floor plans that we possibly can, and the most livable floor plans that we can find for the site. I'd like to take 1 second to tell you all about the sources and uses for this project. This project is a $32 million project. The city has contributed $1 million in infrastructure to this project, which will help on cost, as I've noted, that are very extensive to the site, like stormwater and utilities, as well as the preparing the grade of the site. That $1 million investment, in addition to the investment the city made in the land, is leveraged to a $32 million project using the state low-income housing tax credits and debt on the property. The low-income housing tax credits make up 76% of the project cost at $24.5 million. The debt makes up 20% of the project at $6.4 million. And the city's contribution of $1 million makes up 4% of the total development cost. So, it is stretching the city dollar very far for the Grove on Johns Island, which we are proud of. We are fortunate to have this project funded in 2022, which was kind of after a lot of the allocations that have had these large gaps. At the moment, we do not have an anticipation for there to be a funding gap, which will really allow us to charge as fast as we can to the finish line to have these units constructed and bring these affordable units to the city of Charleston. There will be 2.3 acres, almost 2.4 acres left over on the city's land. You can see that is this parcel here marked tract B21B on this plan. We are evaluating this parcel at the moment to find the best use to bring additional affordable units to the parcel and provide more than 90 units on the Fenwick site, I think, as y'all know it, in total. That's, again, with the other projects that have spoken to us today are a little bit further along in the permitting process. This kind of speaks to where we are today. And again, wanted to thank the city and Gianna's team. I know everyone's given Gianna praise, but I will echo that. Similar to what Robinson said, we're in a lot of municipalities, across the country, really, and having a top-notch, sophisticated development coordinator like Gianna is a huge asset to the city. So I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? I'm looking at the hands. No questions? Councilman Pell, you don't have a question?
Leave him alone.
I'm going to do every other agenda item. So
Okay.
I'm going to take it easy on you.
All right.
The
Okay.
mayor had his hand up, Councilmember Mitchell.
Oh, I didn't see the mayor. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, so, yeah, I normally think of something to say. I want to thank Sam and Robinson and 180 Place. Stacy, thank y'all for partnering with us on all of these. It occurred to me just thinking of these numbers all together that well, this is probably not counting the 3 million from the Climb Fund. Direct city funding of about $6 million total has leveraged about $100 million of construction of affordable housing, which I think is remarkable. The downside has been timing on maybe not so much, Sam, on yours, because you came along later than the other two, and COVID was a factor. Big factor was the deal with the state tax credits, getting turned over upside down and making everybody re-scramble for their equity package to make all of this happen. So So that was most unfortunate. So we all know that, but thank y'all for hanging in there with us and helping make all this happen. It's really important for the future of our city, and we appreciate the partnerships. Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. Now we'll move right along to number 4. Amendment and update to the oh, wait a minute now, where am I? Yeah, update to the plan unit development. I think that's the one that we had a lot of conversation about. That's where we are?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Christopher is going to open up on this item.
Okay.
Thanks, Gianna and council members. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Hopefully this works for, can you all see now a large map? Awesome. Okay, so this was actually at Planning Commission last night. This is property that the city has under contract to purchase for affordable housing. And to make it work for us for affordable housing, we need to do some amendments to the planned unit development that currently governs the site. But just to orient you all, this is Bees Ferry Road. This is Sanders Road. Sanders Road now leads back to the back of the West Ashley High School, to the C.E. Williams Middle School, to our new library. And there's a new traffic signal here, so you can get across the road easily. There already is an apartment complex to the rear here. There also is extensive development in the Bees Landing development. There are new apartments coming across the street here as well. A new townhouse development in Charleston County here, and a new charter school. I believe it's Voyager Charter School is going here under construction soon. So a lot of things going on in the surrounding area. Let's see. In our comprehensive plan, this shows in our what we call neighborhood edge. It is near some land that is low, but it itself is not as low, and therefore it has recommendations for neighborhood edge, which allows for up to 20 units an acre. And so that has been taken into account with the site planning that is being done for this project. This was our PUD amendment that was at Planning Commission last night, but here's the actual PUD amendment, and I won't go through all the language in here, but there are a few things that get changed in here. This chart shows the change. Originally, this portion of the PUD was going to have about 40 dwelling units and a good bit of commercial space. With these amendments, it would have 246 affordable housing units. There already is single family development that's occurring in the development, and overall the dwelling units per acre are very much in line with what our comprehensive plan calls for. A couple other things to point out. There is a change in heights. It would go from allowing 4 stories to allowing 5 stories. Again, this is to facilitate the affordability on the site, and I'll show you a early concept site plan too that gives you a sense of how it would be laid out in just a second. Again, this is the overall PUD, and the development of the affordable housing will occur in these areas. If you can see my cursor going across, there will be a portion retained for commercial development. This would be for a convenience store that would potentially include the things that you normally see with a convenience store, such as gas pumps and a small car wash. It would not be a standalone car wash. That was discussed at Planning Commission last night, and there's language that would be amended in the PUD that would allow for a convenience store with a small car wash, like you see with a lot of the other convenience stores around town. These are just the roads that would be in the development. Some of these are already in place, and road sections. Here again is an aerial image of the site. Already some of the road right-of-way has been cleared. That was done a while back, and there's new single-family development going on to the rear underway now. And then this was one of the changes to the PUD that gas stations may have as an accessory use. A car wash if the footprint of the car wash building does not exceed 1,500 square feet. That was endorsed by Planning Commission last night, and that is very important to the seller of the property who's retaining the commercial corner. Here we have the overall site, and just a few things to point out in the surrounding area. In the surrounding area are the C.E. Williams Middle School just down Sanders Road is 1.25 miles away. The new Bees Ferry Library, 1.25 miles away. West Ashley High School, 2 miles. The Walmart is a mile away, and there are Carter routes that come to the Walmart, so that's a mile away. There already is a bike and pedestrian trail along Bees Ferry that could be utilized to get to those locations. And then, of course, the Walmart is a grocery, and there's a new grocery, Harris Teeter, up here. It's about 3/4 of a mile away. So pretty well located. Parks in Grand Oaks are there as well. And again, higher and drier than a lot of the other things on Bees Ferry, and definitely recommended for development in our comprehensive plan. This is an early site concept. Again, Bees Ferry is at the bottom here. These would be buildings that would utilize some of that height. There would be traffic traversing through the development here, and then this would be more of a direct route for the single family and other apartments that are in the development. And of course, there is a traffic signal just to the right of this page here, so easily accessing out onto Bees Ferry. Just some views of the site at present here. And there you go. And that is what's planned. This is a earlier affordable housing apartment complex that you all may be familiar with at Magwood and 61, and that gives you a sense of buffering that would occur along the edge of the sites, things like that. So that is the information that we have to share with you all. This is coming to City Council in October for approvals for the PUD amendments. The public hearing would be on October 24th, and you all would be asked for first reading approval on October 10th. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, could we move that screen, Chris?
Yes, sir. I will get that off. Let's see.
Thank you.
Let's see, there we go. Oh, I don't know if that got rid of it. Hold on one second. Oh, here we go. I think I saw, sorry, trying to get the screen share off here.
All right.
A second ago.
Mr. Chairman, Councilmember Saccharin had his hand up, and Mayor
Yes.
Tecklenburg.
Yeah, I was trying to get him to move the screen first, but Councilman Sacrum, you can go ahead. Since I can see that, you know.
Thank you, Chairman. Christopher, while you're trying to get that, could you just elaborate a bit more on the commercial portion of that parcel that you mentioned something about a gas station?
Yes, at the corner of Sanders and Bees Ferry would be a gas station, convenience store type of facility. Yes. Like a Parker's type thing, gas pumps, convenience store, and then potentially a small car wash too.
Okay, I see, Mr. Mayor, you have your hands up. I can see those two.
So related to that same question, that part of the property, however, is not being sold to the city, correct? The seller's retaining that, but we're making a PUD modification that impacts the business side of it?
That is correct, Mayor. Yes. Previously, you couldn't have had a convenience store there in the PUD. It would have been commercial uses like offices, retail, restaurants, but it couldn't have been a convenience store. And they had asked to have an allowance for a convenience store there.
I see.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? If I don't need a motion for the amendment and update so we can send it on to council.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it was moving second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes?
I'm voting aye, but just, did you mention that the planning commission approve it last night?
Yes, sir. Unanimous approval last night. Recommendation for approval at planning commission. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Okay, the mayor's the only one that opposing it, right? Right now, he's not voting on that. Okay, then move on.
He voted on it.
Oh, he voted on it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. I thought he was saying he was gonna.
No, I was, even beginning, I said I was going to vote in favor, but I was just curious how the planning commission vote was.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's approved, it's gone, approved with city council. Now we'll go back up to old business, number 1, clarifying a direction to city staff regarding Sumo Street.
Before we go there, can I just make a comment, Mr. Chairman? regarding all that what we've just seen.
All righty.
And I will end it with a couple of questions. I think that our housing and community development department, and I think that Mayor, you just alluded to in terms of how we are able to leverage, okay, $6-7 million into hundreds of millions of dollars just on these three projects. And it's something that our housing and community development division, our office has been doing for years. Can you tell us right now how many units do we have in the pipeline right now? Isn't it close to 800 to 1,000 units?
Yes, sir. Slightly over 1,000 in the pipeline between the projects that were just highlighted this afternoon and those that are in process. It's slightly over 1,000.
Okay, and do you have a figure on that? Is it close to 300 million, 400 million or so, isn't it?
Close, but no, sir, I don't have that figure available. But if you look at those projects that were funded just with the $20 million bond, the city leveraged 5 times that $20 million investment. So well over 100 million in resources that came as a result of your $20 million investment in about 529 units.
And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because if we really look at our Department of Housing and Community Development and the millions in comparison to other divisions, I know the mission's different. It's really leveraging hundreds of millions of dollars into the city's coffer for the development of affordable housing. And I don't think that we mentioned that enough. I was happy to hear the developers doing it, but I think we need to do it too, because that division, okay, and Mayor, I know you know, that division literally, based upon what they get in and how they leverage and turn that into hundreds of millions of dollars, it's unbelievable. It really is. And I think we need to recognize it a little more and commend staff a little more on what they do, because it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I appreciate what you do. And I just wanted to say that again. Okay. And the mayor said it, and everybody said it, but I think we can't really say it enough. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that, Councilman Gregory, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And we do a lot that people don't know about what the community development office is doing, and we need to kind of shine on that a little more when we talk about affordable housing and trying to create affordable housing. And we doing as much as we possibly can with the money we got coming in, but we use it wisely, the taxpayers' funds. We use it very wisely and trying to get the best deal for the bucks that we are using. Okay, so right now we are on the number 1, and that's Councilman Gregory.
Okay, I think what we're supposed to do is provide clarity for staff. But let's first start with the motion that was approved by council, and that motion was for us to look at Plan West Ashley and develop an option with a civic center and green space only, and work on improving the gateway at North Bridge down Sam Rittenberg. As you look at the ad hoc report from our Committee on Real Estate back in March 28th, 2023, there was already information with regard to the full North Bridge Gateway redevelopment potential. In addition to that, was submitted the county redesign and preliminary designs for the Sumar Street area. And in addition to that, we now have Rethink Sam Rittenberg Road. Okay, so there are a lot of moving pieces. And that's one of the reasons why the motion was couched the way it was couched, that it goes beyond just SUMAR. And I think that's consistent with what we have been seeing, especially from our real estate division. We purposely did not mention a vendor. And I definitely couldn't mention a vendor at our last meeting without having some discussions with this body that makes that recommendation to the body of a whole. So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I think there needs to be some discussions, because when I said we should direct it to staff and we voted on it to be directed to staff, that doesn't necessarily mean that staff has to go and do it. Staff has a better idea of vendors, be it the one that has been working on the project before, whoever they think could do this as expeditiously as possible. Now, our committee can discuss, I think, Mr. Chairman, if we want to recommend a specific vendor, or leave that up to staff to make the determination. But also not just focus on SUMA, the green space, and the Civic Center, but the entire corridor and how we pull all that together. Because as I looked at the redevelopment potential for the North Bridge Gateway that goes all the way to Orange Grove and beyond, it obviously appears as though we're trying to do some traffic calming, as well as provide more green space along the corridor. So for me, I want to just open this up to the other members of the committee. And as we are discussing real estate, and luckily we have the chairman of real estate on this committee, because this is also a real estate issue that may go beyond the planning phase of which we get into. So I just want to open it up for a discussion on what kinds of instructions do we feel we need to provide to staff to get this done as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I wanted to respectfully ask, and I don't know if Jennifer has it handy, to reread the actual motion that passed.
That's what I just did, Mayor. I got it from Jennifer.
Oh, you did? Could you?
I'll read it again.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Look at Plan West Ashley and develop an option with a civic center and green space only, and work on improving the gateway at North Bridge down Sam Rittenberg. That's what council approved.
Okie dokie.
Okay. So, and that's why I read it so that we all could be on the same page, Mr. Mayor, earlier on. So for me, now it's open to discussion in terms of what kinds of instructions we want to send forward to staff to get this done.
I think even at that, the direction of staff and the developer that's there, you know, it's up to the committee if they want to use the same developer that we have to look into it, because they have the plans already and they were working on it already. If that's something that the committee thinks that that's what they want to do, to use that same developer they have, that'll be, you know, we can discuss that and vote on that or whatever the case may be, but we want to throw it out to give them direction. Because I know we had people working on it before, and I don't want to lose any money, if you may. that we have if this would be a case. So this is something that we can look at.
And that would be Landmark.
Yeah, it would be Landmark, who was working on it all the time and have already had a plan in place. And if they are still willing to still work with that plan with doing what we have already voted on and still doing the rest of it to see what if they want to do that themselves too. And that's something we can look at, think about too. I don't know. Let's see.
Right. My conversation with them is that they would be interested. You know, I don't know how they make money out of this going to our real estate person, but they do seem to still have an interest.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, if we went out with another RFP, I mean, how much time will that put on this project? I don't know.
I see. Rick, you have your hands up.
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to come to grips with is our MOU with Landmark really has expired.
Oh.
And right now we owe them about $680,000. So that's something that this committee, now we can probably, offer an amendment to try to keep that MOU going with Landmark and with a new scope of work. And but I mean, to be fair to them, I think we owe them some money, and we have to be I think prepared to be fair to them, even if we offer an amendment to the MOU to provide a new scope of work. That first work that they've done, their contract with us, their time with us has expired. And so
I agree I think we should pay them. No question.
Yeah, and I think that's what I would suggest. If anything, you might want to propose as a going forward that should be one of the conditions as well, that we pay them for what we owe them. We will then own that work product. That was what they've done so far, and then see if we want to amend the MOU with them to provide this new scope of work.
Thank you, Rick. Committee is on you all. Mr. Mayor?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate this committee taking up this matter. And Councilmember Gregory, I appreciate your particular interest in it. I do want to make a couple of comments. One is about the rest of the Gateway and Sam Rittenberg, as Councilmember Gregory referred to. We have requested in next year's budget some funding for the planning department to engage in a community engagement about rethink Sam Ritt, I think is the term that we've used, similar to Rethink Folly Road. And I do believe if we faithfully, follow that model, that we would accomplish that portion of this resolution or motion that passed City Council, at least in aspects of the Gateway and the hopeful future improvements along Sam Rittenberg. And I think if council will support that planning department budget request for next year, that will kind of, cover that base, check that box. Does that make sense?
It does, Mayor, to me. But again, I think there's so much that's already been done by the county. If you go back to our ad hoc report from the real estate committee, within their package, it definitely shows what the county would propose to do with at least the Sumar Street portion in
Right.
terms of parking spaces and all that kind of stuff. I know you're talking about something more comprehensive than that.
Yeah.
But in addition to that report, just as a starting point, the full North Bridge Gateway redevelopment potential, that's also part of the ad hoc committee on real estate, has some of, the improvements already there. In other words, I don't want us to reinvent the wheel.
Right. No, they've got a project already planned. I got that.
Okay.
Oh, I understand that. Our Rethink Sam Ritt would just plug that right in, what they've got.
And
planned
then, and then if just to add on, when you look at the full North Bridge Gateway development potential, it also includes not just Sumar, but what is that, Ashley Crossing? What is the mall?
Ashley Landing, I believe.
Ashley Landing. It shows how the potential in terms of how that would be to redevelop as well.
Right.
And to me, showing that we can't do this project in a silo, that we have to work
Right.
with,
I never intended to do it in silo, but I do have to remind everyone that we have control over the property that we own in the public right of way. We can pass zoning and we can, coax and maybe even incent changes on private property, but those owners have to make their own decisions about what they're going to do with their property, right, Councilmember Appel? We can have all the desires and aspirations in the world in Plan West Ashley or any other planning effort for somebody's privately owned property, but we can't force them to do it unless we, buy the property. So, when I'm rethinking Sam Rittenberg, I'm thinking about the public right of way.
Yes.
That real estate that we can make decisions upon, of course, in collaboration with DOT in this case, because it's a South Carolina DOT road, but it is public right of way. But the other property that we can actually be more impactful on is Sumar Street property itself. And I don't want to belabor this, y'all, and I know I was in the minority on that 6-6 vote, but in your motion, when you say to return to Plan West Ashley, I'm happy to do that. But as I pointed out at a prior meeting, Plan West Ashley is what it's called, a plan. It wasn't construction documents, and specifically for our property at Sumar Street, the one we refer to as Sumar Street, the anticipation of Plan West Ashley was that the property was going to be truncated or cut off by a redesign of the intersection, which never occurred. So in effect, we have more property at Sumar Street to redevelop or develop than Plan West Ashley anticipated. And I get back to the point, if you limit yourself to just a civic building and some green space there, you're I believe limiting the potential not only for our own property, which is bigger than Plan West Ashley anticipated, as I just pointed out, but you also limit the potential incentive or synergistic impact to private property owners around you. And I know you didn't put this on the agenda to just rehash all of that, but I just sincerely believe if you want to go back to Plan West Ashley, I just got to make that point that what Plan West Ashley said isn't what happened.
Mayor, where we differ is, yes, there is additional land. The land that I think it was DOT gave to us, the tip. Or was it more than just the tip of the tract that DOT gave to us?
The plan anticipated that some of our land would be given up for the new intersection, and that never happened.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that you're saying that Plan West Ashley did not include, all of the land that's in question. And all I'm trying to do is make clear on what additional land there is now that was not there when we did Plan West Ashley. And it's my understanding, the additional land that's there is that tip that was not owned by us. It's almost like a little triangle. And that was given to us to use as a part of the Sumar development. So is there more land that I don't know about that we were given?
We weren't given any land. We bought what we bought. We own now what we bought.
But Mayor,
it never changed, but it never got reduced. And that's what Plan West Ashley anticipated, is what I'm trying to convey.
Oh, is that we would have a smaller amount of land to work with than we actually have at this point. Okay, so I misinterpreted what you said. Okay, but I'm just, so what?
So what? A more robust development is possible, as we anticipated and proposed to council in a couple of other options that y'all did not support. I get that you didn't support it, but I'm just telling you, if you limit yourself just to a quote civic space and some green space in the middle of a busy intersection there, and no buffer of buildings around the perimeter like we had proposed, I believe you're going to get a situation where the only time people are going to go to that property is when there's some meeting that's been scheduled, and it's not going to be much more activated than it is right now. And
well, even with the county redesign and preliminary designs, it wouldn't.
I don't believe it would.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Councilmember Saccharin also has his.
Okay. Let me go to Councilman Saccharin and I'll come back to you all. If that's fine, let's give him a chance to say something. Councilman Saccharin?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I certainly understand, Councilman Gregory, this was in Mayor, that we ended up with a 6-6 vote. Obviously, there was different opinions, and I don't want to belabor this either, but I guess I'm trying to understand how we got to this point.
No, it was an 8. It was an 8 to get to where we are.
It's 8
We
votes.
had an 8-4 vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vote since the 6-6.
All right.
Okay.
Yep, I get that. My question, I guess, overall, the whole process is, wasn't the concern from those that didn't like the original options that we didn't do true public engagement on this, that we didn't ask the public, or the public engagement that we did was not factual? I've heard that several times, that it didn't represent the true feelings of folks in West Ashley. So if that's the case, I'm feeling we're continuing down that path of not engaging the community by, to the mayor's point, isolating ourselves to one specific design or aesthetic that we're looking for. Wouldn't we want to go back to the drawing board and basically engage the community again on what they want? I do feel like that's a critical piece, and you know where I stand on this. But I'm also understanding that the will of council is to move in a different direction. But I think it's disingenuous or doing a disservice not to go back to West Ashley and ask them what they want. Because if it is the case, Councilman Gregory, that we didn't do a good job of that, then let's go back, let's table this, and let's go back to the community with true public engagement and ask them what they want at that location.
I'm gonna make a statement. In that engagement, they had about 5 different events, community events over in West Ashley.
Right.
And that's when everything was, came out and it was explained to them, but the West Ashley and all this in Sumar Street. And that was 5 different time they was the West Ashley. So it's not that West Ashley people didn't know what was going on. They give their input, But when the input came, and they came with the underground parking was a problem with a lot of different council members because of what the city of Charleston is and all what we deal with, a lot of hurricanes and with water and stuff. So that was the case on that when he even had the six tie. Then we came back and voted again on the community development. Then we took it back to the council with just doing the municipal building. We had the 8-4. The thing that I did at that meeting, we had a 3-hour community development meeting. And I told the people who was there speaking at that time that I was going to stay until we get something done to give them something. So that's when we came up with doing the municipal building and the green space and having so we can get a start. Now, if they want to come back later and add things to it with the green space and add our amenities to it, fine. But I wanted to give them something before we leave before they left there at night. And that's when that was voted on with that particular doing the municipal building with the green space and everything else. That's how that happened.
Can I respond to that, Chair, and then we can turn it to somebody else? I guess
that's how that happened.
Everyone that I spoke with or everyone that emailed me and came to the meetings, it was clear what they wanted. But then the opposition or folks that didn't want that also said, well, that's not a true representation of the community. And all I'm asking is, as a representative of a representative, I have to go with what I hear from the emails that I receive, from people that are coming to council. If there's other folks out there with opposing views, let's allow them the opportunity to provide an alternative. I don't think it's upon us to basically say it's going to look like this. I think that's short-sighted.
Just so we're clear, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead,
okay.
Councilman Gregory.
Okay, yes. There were 71 people, okay, who made the determination with regard to the various options that went forward. If you go back to the various workshops, okay, from Planned West Ashley, there were specific numbers, okay, for what Planned West Ashley said they wanted. They wanted cultural/civic space, okay, park, passive park. Those were the leading things that the people of West Ashley said they wanted. I don't want you to think, okay, that we're basing anything on what we want. I'm basing, okay, things on what Planned West Ashley, based upon their survey, okay, of what the people said they wanted. And it was very clear. They wanted a park, civic, cultural, civic center, okay? The other things were way down the list in terms of percentages of want. Now, of course, if you go to those 71 people who voted, okay, all right, in comparison to over 1,000 people, okay, who voted under Plan West Ashley about what they wanted with Sumar Street, it's very different. And I just think that, sure, we can go out again, no problem. But I'm basing what I see based upon what the majority of people who, not just 71, almost 1,000 people, okay, who participated in the survey on what they wanted for Sumar, civic/cultural, a park and a passive park, all those rated way up there above the 50% margin. The rest of them were way below. So just for clarity, Council Member Saccharin, what we're looking at is based upon the responses from West Ashley residents.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, and most respectfully, Councilmember Gregory, I disagree with your interpretation because what we ended up with after the most extensive civic engagement of any kind since I've been elected mayor, was a combination, an amalgam, if you will, of proposed uses for the Sumar Street property. And you're referring to this chart we saw where they asked the individual questions. Do you like parks? Do you like mixed use? Do you like restaurants? And yeah, there were, I think, 11 or 13 different categories that we graded from lots of responses. But what we did was we created a mixed use that would have the vibrancy that included the top things of those responses, which included civic space and green space, but it also included restaurants and places where families could gather. So what we ended up with was a combination. And as we went each step of the way, pulling that combination together, we checked with the citizens and said, is this right? Is this combination feel right in terms of what you're looking for? Not just pigeonholing that one survey question where we broke it up into those various components. And so respectfully, I think if you followed the whole engagement process, it was confirmed even most recently by that meeting at the Pearl Theater with the 71 people, but it was also confirmed along the way. It was presented multiple times, for example, to the West Ashley Revitalization Commission, had online surveys as well. So I feel it was, for clarity's sake, that the public engagement was thorough and that the public solidly supported the combination of uses that was proposed. That it got down to where are you going to park it and how much that was going to cost. That was the thing that blew it up, in my view.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that one there, because I think that there were 71 people who made those decisions. We agree to disagree. 71 people made the decision. And I don't think so that's why I go back to the 12 or 1300. Okay, while there were various things there for them to choose from, maybe 13. I don't remember how many, but I do remember what was highest on that list. Now, if you guys, the 71 people refined it on behalf of the entire West Ashley, fine. But again,
I respectfully disagree.
I know, and
at this point, if you think a government building is going to create a lot of activity and enjoyment by our citizens,
well, I call it a government building. I call it a cultural center. There's a difference between a building that's a civic space and is a cultural center. There's nobody gonna tell me that the folks in West Ashley won't be using, quote unquote, a cultural center, of which they said they wanted. So again, Mayor, we're going back to the whole argument.
We're not going to do
that. That's dead. Okay, we're now dealing with the directives of the majority of the folks on council, which agreed, okay, for a civic space and green space. That's our mission, okay, based upon what council voted on. Okay, and for us to give a bit more clarity, okay, on what that means. I mean,
I was in the minority, so y'all tell me what it means. Thank you.
Well, I think based upon prior discussion, we talked about giving staff the direction to come up with a comprehensive approach for the redevelopment of the corridor, which includes Sumar Street, okay, with green space, cultural center, or civic space, okay? What we need to decide in terms of what do we tell staff to do? And I think we just talked about a discussion on that. I mean, you know, we can also sell it and get out of the development business. I'm sorry. Go on.
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Rick.
Giroux had
Yeah,
his
I'm
hand
gonna
up, and then Councilmember Appel.
I'm going to, Rick,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, staff is totally confused.
yep, I know.
Because, you know, I think, you know, if I heard the motion that was adopted, it said green space and civic space. And that's what we started out talking. We throw in a cultural space that adds a little different twist to the occasion. So really, I think in order to get staff, you know, to work on this with Landmark or anyone else, we do need a little more clarification.
Just that I'm gonna let Appel speak after this, Councilman Appel. Just when they brought it up, the West actually people wanted a civic center or whatever they want to call it, you know. They wanted that. And the night we had that meeting, I let everybody speak, and they was talking about the underground parking. I told them up front that was voted down by council. So then they kind of stopped with it at that point. And I told them that it's not going to happen unless someone else from the prevailing side come in and do it. I said from day one, I never changed from day one that I would never vote on the underground parking nowhere in the city. That's just me, because from living here 75 years and been through it, I know what can happen with the underground parking. And you have water coming from Northbridge, coming there on both sides, on the corner, on Orange Grove Road, on the end of Orange Grove Road, what you have there is water. Big storm come, it's going to flush down in there, right on down into that garage. I know they say they have this pump and they're going to pump it out, but why should you do it? It's going to be liable to the city, because sooner or later, you're going to have a leak in that garage and it's going to be liable to the city. Someone is going to get hurt and we're going to be liable for it. I know this is the city of Charleston. We are at sea level. There's no sense to fool ourselves. I mean, I go to different states. They don't have water problem like we have. So they have underground parking. Yes. I don't think you have seen another underground parking in the city of Charleston that I know of here. I don't know of one. It might be, but I'm just not aware of it, you know. So when I know water is all around there, and if you look at the history of the city of Charleston and look at all the old pictures, what do you see? Water. So when you're digging down, deep down there, you're digging there and you're going to make this underground parking, but there's water there, and sooner or later, there's a crack going to come in there, and you're going to have a problem the same way we having problems when everything's sinking around there with the police station and everything else. You're going to have problems. And why should I put myself in that? I wouldn't be around, probably, hopefully not, but it's just that it's going to happen. Councilman Pell, it's on you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just speak for a moment. So just a reminder, what's listed on the agenda is clarification and direction to city staff regarding Seymour Street. So we need to
stop and do that.
We just need to
clarify.
Make sure discussion is limited to that, what's on the agenda.
Yeah, we're going to clarify that. We're going to go back and just clarify that one way or the other. Okay, Councilman Pell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Rick stole a little bit of my thunder, but I had some questions for staff, namely Mr. Summerfield, and it's a two-part question. First part of the question is, do you have clear direction? No. And the second part of the question is, assuming you did get what you would categorize as clear direction, does the city staff have the time, resources, and availability in-house to take on the project that's being contemplated, or would this have to go out for bid and essentially we'd have to sort of restart the process that landed Landmark at the table with us all those years ago? We've been hearing a lot of elected folks talking about this stuff. I want to hear from staff on some of this, some of these details.
So through you, Mr. Chairman. So Councilman, so a couple things. So and Councilman Gregory, this is what I think I heard. So I'm going to preface by saying this is what I think I heard. So I heard a couple things. One, I heard the cultural center, community center, civic space component of the Sumar site. The other thing I heard is improvements proposed for Sam Ritt as a gateway from Northbridge towards the Sumar site. So we do have two kind of things at play. As the mayor mentioned, with the Rethink Sam Ritt project, I think we're gonna be able to address, if that is funded, we're gonna be able to address holistically the corridor conversation for Sam Ritt. So that is in our scope of work for next year if we get that project funded. And to Councilman Gregory's point, there are a number of pieces already in place for that. That effort that we would be proposing for next year's work would be to knit those together, because right now they're kind of disparate, fill in gaps because there are some gaps in the work that has been done, and then actually take that from a plan to actually start the engineering effort on that, so that there is plans that are shovel ready, so we can go after some funding for those for the future and actually get that corridor improvements started. So that's piece one. So that is something staff can tackle. We have it in our work plan for next year. If it's funded, we will need to get some outside assistance as it relates to that piece of it. So completely can handle that part. As it relates to the Sumar thing, we can absolutely, I think I heard, go back and possibly talk to Landmark and I think Rick summarized that really well. That's going to have some cost attached to it, whatever new work that they would do in any new scope of work. So we'd have to work out terms. And if there is new costs, as I would expect, we would need to work with Amy to allocate or identify funding for any new scope of work with an external consultant. So there's that piece. I think that's one of the things that has to be a part of the conversation, whether it's Landmark or if we did go to an RFP process for that new option. Again, we'll have to identify funding. I'll be honest, an RFP, get that out there on the street, get responses back, do the evaluation and all that stuff. You know, that's not something that turns around, as you all know, having many of you sit on those selection committees to help staff when we do have these consultant selections. You know, those don't turn around on a dime. So that in itself will take a little time. And then if this was something staff were to pick back up and do internally, as I mentioned or has been mentioned previously, you know, we're with the staff we have in the design center, we're scoped up through into next year. So we could put this into our list of projects, but because of a few things that are related to funding items, I don't believe it's something we could internally start working on option 4 or the back to the plan option before the beginning of next year.
Well, okay.
Does that answer you, Councilman?
That was very helpful.
But it sounds like you know what we want. The only thing you left out was green space. The motion also talked about green space.
Yes, sir. That I apologize. That's what I meant when I said civic. Yes, it would include whatever structural element as well as the lawn space or gathering space.
The park, right. Okay. Well, that's exactly what we're trying to articulate, what you just described. And you and I think we had a discussion about the Civic Design Center, not necessarily in this context, about the workload there right now is pretty much. But again, that depends upon how council prioritizes this project.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bottom line, regardless of workload, if council prioritizes this project, then there may have to be some shifts. But again, what you just articulated is exactly what I think I said earlier. Okay, that if staff can't do it, okay, then giving staff the authority to talk to Landmark, okay, and do X, Y, Z. That's what we said earlier in this conversation. So what you're saying is consistent with what we've been saying, what we're saying. That's exactly what we want done.
Where am I now, Jennifer? Who hands was up? I saw Rick's hand up and I saw the mayor hands up, so I don't know which one is.
The mayor's first.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, to the point of staff time, I was just going to make the observation that if we're going to build a park and or a building, you know, we normally go through a professional services procurement and hire an architect, designer. You know, we don't normally do that kind of level of specificity anyway by staff. We have a firm helping us design WPAL Park right now. Or when we build a fire station, we hire an architect to design the building for us. We don't get to that level of specificity in our civic design center. They're more conceptual, you know, anyway. So you're either going to have to go through Landmark or put the thing out for professional services, it seems to me.
To me, it looks like we're going around in circles. I think that's how we opened this conversation. Okay. I'm clearly understanding that what we do is we get somebody to do it and have staff to oversee it. Okay. And I don't know why this would be any different there. Really don't.
Rick.
Yeah, I think you got two choices right now.
Okay.
And the two choices are you conduct you do an RFP for this cultural space, green space, and go that way, or we try to amend the agreement we have with Landmark to add that to their scope of work. So if we do that, I mean, they have to agree to that. And so it's a mutual thing. We'd have to come up with an amendment to the agreement we have with them. I think, as I said earlier, agree to pay them what we owe them, and then see if they want to take on this additional scope. If they don't want to do it, then we're back to the RFP position. So I think, so if you want the staff to work to amend the agreement with Landmark, we can do that. If you want to say, let's cut our losses right now, let's do a new RFP, we can do that. Just direct us one way or the other.
Well, let me ask one quick question. Even if Landmark is there, didn't Landmark also have drawings dealing with the Civic Center or whatever the case may be? Didn't they do that in the beginning with the Civic Center and the underground parking and everything else?
Whatever they've done, we will owe as soon as we pay them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so we would know that. But the Civic Center they built is a lot bigger than I think the Civic Center that a lot of members said they wanted. And so the green space would be different. So we can either amend the agreement with Landmark and try to get them to agree to that, to do this new scope of work, or we do an RFP for the new scope of work. I think it's one or the other, and whatever direction we get, staff will do.
Okay, committee members, what's your willing pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, may I just throw out one additional like clarity element? I think there was conversation when that original motion was made about whether or not the new option, the new concept would also be done in such a way that it could be expanded in the future to include additional things.
That's what
I think that needs to be a part, because that changes the complexity of the work if we're going to put out a new scope or anything.
Right.
I just want to throw that out there, that should be considered to be very clear in whatever direction we're collectively given, because that does change the complexity if you have to build in the opportunity for future phases or future components to be potentially added later.
Yeah, that's a statement that I made that although we
That
do.
was not a part, it was not a part of the motion, yes.
No, it wasn't part of the motion, but I just made that statement, that part during that time, that, you know, this still can, even with the green space or whatever the motion is, you know, with the building, they can look at it later on, and they still can go ahead and add to it. So whatever the will and the pleasure of the committee, that's what we'll do. Which would you do? I'm just waiting for a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion. My motion would be that we charge staff with the responsibility of one, making sure that whatever we owe Landmark is paid. And secondly, whether or not Landmark wants to participate in, participate in developing this option 4. If Landmark determines that they aren't interested, then we have to go to the RFP.
Okay. You all have heard the motion. That's your motion. That's the motion.
That's my motion.
Okay,
I don't hear a second, so it's not going anywhere.
I don't hear a second. So that motion, if there's no second, the motion is not, a motion failed.
And we're right where we were.
I can second the motion for discussion, but I'm just gonna second for the discussion, and then we can go on and vote. We got to do something here.
Right.
You have heard the motion. In a second, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moses?
Nay.
Nay.
No.
1, 2, 3, motion fails.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, how did Councilmember Saccharin, what is your vote?
On continuing discussion, I vote yes.
All right, so now this is for approval of Councilmember Gregory's motion.
Yeah,
No, not at this point, no.
no, so that's why I say it was 3-2.
All right, so just for the record, Council members Gregory and Chairman Mitchell voted in favor of the motion. Council members Saccharin, Appel, and Mayor Tecklenburg voted nay. So the motion fails.
That's correct.
Motion failed.
Motion fails.
So we give no clarity to staff unless there's another motion to be put on the table. If not,
I don't know what kind of motion, really, what kind of motion we can make now with all the statements that we had before. And, you know, I just felt bad because I told all the people at West Ashley at the meeting that we was going to do something, and that's why the community center and the green space that they wanted was part of a motion that's they got something to get started with. So now we are back at square one and getting nothing done. You know, and it's a doggone shame because nobody gets it all. I don't care what people want. You can want something, but is this the right thing to do? That's the way I look at things. Not because I want it, not because this person wanted it, but is this the right thing to do? And that's what I do think, right and wrong. I'm not looking at any other things. I'm too old for that. I look at right and wrong, period. That's the way it is. Councilman Saccharin?
Thank you, Chair. The reason I'm voting no is I'm still at a place where I'm not sure we know what the community wants because we sit here and debate about it. I realize that the motion today was to give some clarity. But I'm not comfortable giving staff clarity on something that I'm not convinced most of West Ashley wants. So we got some groups that say that we've heard from West Ashley, others say that we only heard from 71. So if there's confusion about what West Ashley wants, wouldn't it be in our best interest to go back to the residents and do a honest assessment of feedback? And maybe lead into the West Ashley revitalization plan and ask them how they interpret the plan, because I think there's a difference of interpretation here.
But
Okay.
you said so you're saying that what's here now is not honest?
No, what I'm saying was there was accusations that the process was rife with folks that wanted certain options, so they packed the room with those people. And then we heard, so all I'm saying is if there was questions about the process previous to here that got us to this point, I'm not comfortable voting on any conceptual idea to give clarity to staff until I feel like we've actually leaned into the West Ashley community and have clarity around what a majority want. I realize we're not going to make everybody happy, but all the people that reached out to me, Dudley and Mitchell, favored, and I don't have them in front of me, but favored some sort of mixed use option. And I don't want to belabor the fact, and I'm not asking us to relitigate that. All I'm saying is, if we don't feel like we got a sense from what the community wants, shouldn't we go back and ask them?
Sure, I have.
Hold it. You completed, Councilman Sacrum?
I'm done. Thank you.
But see, what I'm saying is that I was taking a lot of information from the revitalization committee, because they're the one that had all the meetings, and that's where it came from. A lot of it came from, some of the things, some of the information even came from some of the information, if you may, because they were having all these meetings, West Ashley, the revitalization, they had all of West Ashley. That's all I'm saying.
And let me just reply to that, Chair. When we talked to the members of the revitalization committee, a lot of them were ones that were supporting options 2 and 3. I can't remember what they were, but they were supporting the options that had a more robust mixture of retail and civic space and green space. Those are the folks I leaned into for expertise, because they spent the better part of 4 years going through that process.
They approved it.
So,
They approved it multiple times.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Mayor,
Mayor
you have your
Teichenberg.
hands up, and then we're going to kind of end this discussion again.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I think you had your hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and I would concur with Councilmember Sacrum that, I mean, personally, I as I stated before, I feel like the citizens were well engaged and told us what they were looking for, and I don't think it was defined as limited to a civic building and the green space without the other things. So I would concur with Councilmember Sacrum that rather than proceed with a design of another plan or another option that we're not convinced our citizens are in favor of, that we do engage them again and go back to them. I would support a motion along those lines.
Mayor. Yeah.
Hold it. Mr. Mayor, are you finished? Mr. Mayor? Are you finished?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Councilman Gregory, and then we're gonna just.
Yeah, and then,
make a motion.
Then I'm finished with it too. Because I thought that council was very clear. Okay, what we're doing is we're going right on back to 1, 2, and 3. Okay, of which this council voted down already. Okay,
They
we're
didn't
going
vote
back.
on number 3, which is not unlike what y'all theorized for option 4, because it included not a whole lot of private commercial development. It included some, but it was scaled back.
Okay, but all I'm saying is
Never voted on it.
I just think that this is something, put it before the committee of the committee of a whole, just because apparently what we're getting ready to do here, okay, is back where we were, and I'm not going to be a part of that at all, Mayor. That's what we're doing. Council had a motion, okay, 2 of them, okay, 8-4 on one, 6-6 on the other. I'm not touching this. I'll abstain. I'm not getting into this one because I think there's some parliamentary procedural kinds of stuff that's going here that does not work for me. So y'all finish it. I'm abstaining from the rest of this conversation.
Before I do,
This is a circumvention of council. I'm not gonna be a part of it.
well, the motion that council made was a motion that was approved by council regarding Sumal Street development for discussion and direction for staff for our CD committee meeting. That's the motion that came from council. So if we're not going to do that, then we need to just
Adjourn this meeting.
leave it. You know, because that's what council directed us to do.
Right.
So if we don't do what council directing us to do, then we have to. I don't think we need to do nothing.
I'm not playing this. No.
Councilman Sacrum again.
And then I know we want to jump off, but so the motion that passed at council
Right.
was to bring this back to CD. Just hear me out and correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Was to bring this back to CD and then basically give staff clarity and direction moving forward.
Correct. On the motion that was made so far as the development of the complex and the green space and doing the development.
Okay.
Mr.
Correct,
Mr.
Jennifer? That was correct, right?
Mr. Chairman, so the motion at council, it did not send it back to CD committee. It was voted on by city council. The reason I think the Community Development Committee is discussing this now, Councilmember Gregory had a council communication request on our last council agenda. And it was discussed that clarification and direction for city staff would be placed on the agenda for community development.
Okay. So
But sending it to community development was not a part of the motion
okay.
at that council meeting when that vote was taken.
Okay, so from what council said, we just have to give staff clarification, Jennifer? The motion,
Yes, sir.
the motion that was made by city
There-
council.
There is no motion made by
I'm
city
saying it
council
here.
to give clarification to staff. The motion that was voted on at city council was to look at Plan West Ashley to develop an option with civic center and green space only and work on improving the gateway at North Bridge down San Rittenberg. That's what was voted on.
Right.
This item, the clarification and direction to city staff, was a request by Councilmember Gregory, just because I think there were some questions after that vote at council and staff just needed direction on what to do with that.
Okay.
And that's why it's on the agenda today.
Okay. All right.
And just for clarity, that motion you read passed 8-4 in full council.
It did pass. I don't have the vote count in front of me,
Yeah.
but it did pass.
8-4. Thank you. And I'm not going to circumvent council's vote in this committee.
So in the sense of that, what do we do?
Well, it didn't pass.
No, I'm just saying.
We can't provide the clarity we suggested. The majority of this committee said no and provided no additional clarification, but is attempting to go back to options that council voted down on. I'm not going to be a part of that.
No, so I'm saying that's what we do. Just go back to council and period and leave it alone. Just say we didn't make any decision that
We didn't make any decision.
at community development.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all I see so far as the motion that came from council, and that's the procedure, and the correct way of doing it.
Right. And we can say what the clarification was that was voted down. We provided it.
So if the council want to do something different, it's up to city council.
I'm done.
Is that correct? So as I'm concerned, that's the only way I see it, so far as the legal term here, Councilman Kelly, that's the only way I see it. I don't see any other way, because this is what council said. So if we came here and we're not doing, given that, so we just need to leave it alone and just say, community development, just act on it. Council, you have to act on it yourself.
The motion for clarity failed.
Yeah, and let's go back to council. Let's go back to council.
So Mr. Chairman, Mayor Tecklenburg has his hand up, but I think you would just report out at community development that there was a motion that was voted on and that failed at committee.
That's it?
That's it.
Mr. Mayor?
Mm,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer, you finished? Oh,
I would just make the observation that if we requested this to come to this committee for further clarification, you would hope to achieve some consensus as to what that clarification was. That motion, as you expressed, with all due respect, did not reach a consensus among the committee as to how to clarify this original motion to staff. It's that simple. Another motion might accomplish that. In the meantime, if nothing were to successfully pass this committee, I as mayor, I'll ask staff to interpret the original motion passed by council as best as they possibly can and come back to the council with some options. How about that?
Not a problem, Mayor, as long as we don't circumvent council's authority by sneaking this through, and I don't like what I'm feeling.
that's all I can see. We didn't make any motion.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
No motion that we brought this up failed so that nothing else came back to the community development and it's back in council hands.
I'm ready for adjournment, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have any questions before we adjourn? Well, the meeting's adjourned. Nothing happened.
Appreciate it.